Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Parenting Hour. You're tuned into Unity FM 93.5 here in Birmingham, 105.1 in London. And Happy New Year to you all. MashaAllah, we have another year that's passed, and here we are at another wonderful year, alhamdulillah, 2020. MashaAllah. Did we ever think that it would be upon us so soon? At least I didn't think it would be upon me so soon. It kind of crept up very quickly there, and lots have happened over the last year and years, alhamdulillah, and time goes by very quickly. But it's good that we are kind of keeping an eye on time and what we're doing, and recognising the things that we do well, and thanking Allah for that, and things that we need to improve on, or things that we didn't do so well. How can we do better? Excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold. How can we do better indeed in that? So it's a time of New Year resolutions, people making their New Year resolutions and wanting to do better. So if this is you today that are wanting to make a New Year's resolution, think about it, what it is that you want to change. What one thing, because there's often many things you want to change, but what one thing would you like to change to see in your life for next year? And then think, how can I do that? And what first step do I need to do that? For some of you, it may be actually having maybe better eyesight, or going to see your opticians, or because you have found that over the time your eyes haven't improved, haven't been so great, but you've been a bit scared or a bit frightened of going to opticians. But you shouldn't be, because I have a beautiful optician in front of me, mashallah, mashallah, Dr. Fatima Nawaz. Assalamu alaikum, welcome.
Walaikum salam, Kathleen, thank you.
And you made me feel so at ease a few weeks ago when I went for my optician test that I had first one for a number of years, and it was wonderful how you welcomed me, how I felt at ease, all the tests you did and how you explained them, and it was really wonderful. And to go on out with that reassurance at the end, it was wonderful. I felt so much at ease myself. So that's why I wanted to bring you on today's show, to actually explain the importance of going to have your eyes tested and seeing what abnormalities there might be happening, or even as we get older, things change, and how we can help ourselves in that time, that process, and that journey. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you had a nice time having an eye test. So my name's Fatima. I'm an optometrist. I own an optician's in Birmingham called Ward End Eyecare. And I'm here today basically just to talk to you about the importance of eye care. So some of the projects that we've been doing is we've been going into local schools to talk about the importance of having your eyes tested on a regular basis. So we've done assemblies to the pupils in primary schools. We're also going to be doing workshops for parents as well, just so they can understand the importance of eye care.
Brilliant. So, eye care is really important, and often we don't notice that our eyes are changing. We're bringing that paper to read a bit further towards us or a bit further away from us, and we don't actually know what's going on there. We don't take notice of it. It's kind of become normal. It's such a gradual process often. But it is something really important for us to be doing regularly. Yeah,
it is. So you won't always know when you've actually got an eye problem, and that's the importance of making sure you bring your children in for an eye test, because they're not going to tell you when there's a problem. So your eyes don't necessarily need to hurt for there to be a problem. They could have symptoms of rubbing their eyes too much, having difficulty concentrating, or sitting a little bit too close to the telly, or holding things a little bit too close. So these are the important signs to look out for in children, which will identify that child does need to come in for an eye test.
And what about then I suppose if we just go on we'll come back to children in more detail in a few minutes, but what about the little bit older children, the teenagers, and then the people in marriage age, and then the mums and dads? What about going through all the phases? Is there something to look out for in all the phases?
the key things to look out for is things like blurred vision. The things that I mentioned of rubbing their eyes, difficulty concentrating. Sometimes the eyes can hurt. Sometimes you can have headaches. Sometimes you can find it have difficulty trying to concentrate. So yeah, there are key things to look out for all age ranges. Sometimes if your workload increases, such as when you start secondary school, that's quite a good age to come in as well, because the workload increases. So it is important to have your eyes tested and make sure that you're not putting your eyes under too much strain.
Mm-hmm. And there's so much to put our eyes under strain. I mean, I find the computers, the phones, we're kind of all the time on technology, and we have a lot of bright lights shining into our eyes, which we didn't have before. We didn't have 20 years ago. We didn't have this technology. So are you seeing an increase in the problems? Excuse me.
No, there's definitely has been an increase in problems of patients coming in, mainly suffering from digital eye strain, which is what occurs when you're using a screen too much. And that can be any screen. That's a tablet, a phone, a laptop, a computer, television screen. So you can get digital eye strain from things like that. And you have simple symptoms from dry eye symptoms to headaches that can lead to more severe problems too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's a range there that you need to be looking out for of symptoms that kind of that may jump out at you, but other things may not jump out at you. Mm-hmm. So it can be any age. It can be children, it can be teenagers, because you're saying in school they have much more workload to do. Parents, mums during pregnancy and things like that. Does that have a strain or not usually?
No, it does. Well, being pregnant, it will affect your whole body, including your eyes. And there's a lot of patients that come in that are pregnant that have eye problems. We don't necessarily always prescribe glasses at that point, but we will obviously look into the problem and see what the problem is. But just as the rest of the body is changing due to pregnancy, it does have an impact on the eyes as well.
Mm-hmm. So like everything else, it has an impact there. And then, of course, more mature parents and grandparents, then when they're going into that age, there is again a changes that happen in their eyes.
Yeah, so naturally the eyes, as time goes on, the eyes lose their ability to focus on the range of distances. So people tend to need extra support and help for up close work once they're past the age of 40. That's quite normal and natural to occur.
So, gosh, listeners, whatever age you are, if you're listening into this programme today about eyes, there is a need to think about your eye care. When was the last time you actually went and had your eyes tested or visited an opticians? I know there's a lot on our high streets now, but if you were like me, you probably just walk past them and not really take too much notice of them. But it is important to do this regularly. What amount of frequency times would you advise, like for children and for adults, to go to have their eyes tested and on a normal basis, like if everyth's okay, but on a normal basis, just have rechecks?
So normally it's recommended at least every 2 years, but we would go on the recommendations from the optometrist. Sometimes normally with kids or when we're looking at certain conditions, we do have shorter intervals. So sometimes it can be 3 months, sometimes it can be 6, 9, 12. So it just depends on the patient, but generally every 2 years an eye test would be recommended. Unless advised otherwise. Okay.
So that we have got the normal now. We've talked a lot about the normal. And I know when we were together, you were telling me a lot about the children and the importance it is for children to have their eye tests done, because there's an age range there that if you get in before that age range, you can improve things much quicker.
Yeah, so with the eyes, there's a critical development period for the eyes, and this is why we go into schools to promote eye care, because it's important. So it's important for children to have regular eye care, and this is the reason why we go into schools to promote this. Normally, if it's done at a younger age, if there is any difference between the two eyes and the binocular vision, it is something that we can support and improve. And if we do this at a younger age, it's more likely to be successful as opposed to when they're older.
Great. So what is that critical age?
So the research suggests it's up to about the age of 8. There are so that would be the point at which it's not to say we can't do anything after that, but it's just less likely to be as successful. So the key point is to get them in. The earlier the better. So there's not a strict age that a child can have an eye test. So we do eye test on any age. So no one's too young to have an eye test. We recommend eye tests from the age of 3 upwards. But obviously if your child does have a problem with their eyes before that age, it would be really important to bring them into an optometrist and have that looked at.
A lot of parents might be wondering, they can't read the alphabet. How are they going to have this eye test? They don't know what is A, B, C, or maybe it's going to make me look silly as a parent if I bring them in and they're maybe even 4 and 5 and they don't know the alphabet. And that could be stopping.
Yeah, no,
that is.
We do get parents concerned about that. Optometrists are trained to do eye test on babies, so so we're competent to do that, and that's one of our skills that we can do. So there's not an age restriction in terms of them not being able to read letters. Again, that's fine. There's other techniques that we can use to make sure we're still checking the patient, the child, the baby's eyes, or we can use fixation tracking. We can use pictures, shapes, numbers. So there's lots of other different ways to check the eye. So having an eye test isn't just purely about the vision as well. It's also about the health of the eyes. And we can do eye tests without a response from the patient. So we don't necessarily need a response. We can shine lights into the eyes to check the health, to check the prescription. So there's techniques that we can do to still check a patient's eyes.
Brilliant. So parents shouldn't worry then if their child don't know the alphabet.
Because there's other things that we can use. We use pictures on a regular basis. There's numbers. There's still ways of engaging with a child to get a general idea of what they can see.
Brilliant. And are these tests done in general in schools, or should parents make their appointments with you?
So there's a bit of a myth. A lot of parents come in or think that, actually my child's had their eyes tested at school, and actually no, they haven't. No schools do sight tests. So there's a vision screening programs in some areas across the UK, but it's not across. It is quite patchy, but they don't actually. So it's not actually an eye test. It's just a vision screening program in which they can detect whether one eye or both eyes, if the vision is reduced. But an actual sight test is much more comprehensive than that. So there's much more to it. We'll check the vision alongside making sure both eyes are actually working together, making sure that the muscles are working well in the eyes, doing an external and internal examination of the health of the eyes. So it's a much more comprehensive sight test, as opposed to what is done at school is just a basic gross test of identifying if the vision is reduced in one eye or both eyes. As part of a children's sight test, as part of a sight test, we tend to do colour vision test and 3D tests, which are really important, especially with the development of children and their learning.
Wow, so there's a lot in that there. Does it take a long time to do from the time the child would walk in through the door? And some children are great, they're so keen and interested and want to, but some children may get a little bit...
in terms of timing, so every patient's a little bit different, and you can it tends to normally take between 20 minutes to 30 minutes. But depending on the child as well. So sometimes it's just about getting that child familiar with the environment, depending on their age. And if it's their first time, that's the most important thing. So you don't want to scare that child away. So sometimes you might just do a few little, what we call games with them, just to kind of identify things and get them back in at another point. But no, the test itself doesn't take very long. It's about making it fun and interactive, especially with children.
Oh, lovely. That sounds lovely and interactive indeed. And I know they do interact well with you, which is great, mashallah. And does it cost a lot for parents?
So for children under the age of 16, the eye test is NHS funded, so it's completely free. So there's no cost to an eye test. So
I don't think parents know this, that they can have a free test and that it's not done in school. As you said, I think a lot of people get confused with it.
Yeah, I think they do think that, it's done at school and that's it, but no schools do sight test. And it is free, and this is the whole point of promoting eye tests for children. It's a free service, funded by the NHS, and it's important. It's for their development. If the child does need glasses, the NHS also provide vouchers towards the costing of the glasses, which can completely cover the cost or work partly towards the cost. So in terms of for the parents, no, there's not a cost element. If a child is in full-time education up to the age of 18, it's completely free as well. So it goes up to 18, and there are other NHS criterias that make you eligible for free sight tests over 60s. Every single person over 60 will have a free sight test. If you're on any particular benefits, you also have a free sight test as well. So this is all funded by the NHS.
Wow, we have a service there that people really don't know much about and don't take it on board. And now, listeners, you have no excuse after this. Maybe this is one of your New Year's resolutions, that you're going to look after your eyes and look after your health in that way, because we're all have the phones and the computers in front of us, and we're dragged into those bright lights and those conversations and late night maybe messages. And I know my phone the other night, I was updating it, and in the middle of the night it rang me. I don't know why it rang me. I think it just was ringing me to tell me it was updating it. I got such a fright because I didn't know who was ringing me at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I thought there was something wrong. So we're all tested in different ways with our technology. We need the technology, but we need to look after our health to be able to appreciate that technology. And it's wonderful. It was really quick. Indeed, when I went in, it was a very quick service that we did, and some of the things I really enjoyed about it. Maybe you'd like to go through the different types of tests, because there was a few different types of tests there. But for me, I think the red lights and the green lights were really nice. Very competitive there. Can I spot those lights or not? So can you go through the different types of tests?
So I think the one you're describing is the visual field test. So it's just to make sure that you're not missing anything in your peripheral vision, which is really important. So we do have a blind spot in our vision. It's just making sure there's no additional blind spots in our vision, which is important for drivers and just important for your day-to-day, to be quite honest. It basically analyses the pathway from the eyes to the brain. So if there's anything unusual going on there, that test will most definitely pick it up.
Wow, which is, again, something that we need to be doing, because we can't see inside our brain and we don't know what's happening. So this is very good that there's a test there, they're able to pick that up. And what other tests did you have then?
So one of the other ones that you might remember is the pressure test. Which most people have the puff of air into the eye. So the technique that we've got is a little bit different. It's the equipment that they use in the hospital. So it just gently touches the tear layer on the front of your eye just to check the pressure, which is really important to make sure you don't have you don't have certain eye conditions or any problems within the eye. So things like glaucoma are ruled out with having the pressures checked.
And those tests came after my alphabet readings. I remember reading different alphabets, different sizes.
So we checked your vision in terms of in the distance, making sure there was no prescription there. Then obviously we checked it for reading, which is I'm sure you won't mind saying, which is where you needed a little bit of support with the reading element. We checked your pupils to make sure that they were reacting normally to light as they should, which they were, so that was good.
Alhamdulillah. A lot to be grateful for, actually. You think of this and the eye and how it works, and alhamdulillah, we don't have to tell it. You need to react now and you need to do this now. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, and this is the thing. So one of the things, like, we check the muscles in the eyes. So there's loads of important factors, and obviously we did the pictures, so the digital retinal photography as well. So and that's a great way of keeping the records, and you got to see that as well, so you can understand. Well, you can see and understand what we're looking at and what we're keeping a check on every time that you come in for an eye test.
I think that's so important, listeners. If you've just tuned in now, we're talking about eye tests. We're talking about the importance of looking after your eyes, of having your eyes tested, of going to the optometrist. Is that right? Am I pronouncing it right?
Right.
There's many of them. We have Fatima in front of me, who has got her own services. It was over. Can you just explain where it is?
Ward End. So it's on Washwood Heath Road, which is not too far from Allen Rock Road, if from Birmingham. So it's on the Washwood Heath Road. So it's 644 Washwood Heath Road is where we're based, opposite Habs. And
really important that it's local, it's in the area. You can make an appointment, go in and have all these tests done and come out reassured that everything is going the way it should be going, or if you do have something that needs to be corrected with glasses, that you're getting the right kind of glasses. So it was very quick, really, for such an intensive amount of piece of work that happened in that time, when you're looking at the muscles and looking at the connections to the brain and looking at the reaction. There was a lot going on in that period of time, for people. So it is well worthwhile doing it. Do you find that people tend to put it off and don't come in regularly, to have their eyes tested?
Definitely, unfortunately, it is a service that isn't used as much as it should be. I think parents will take their kids to the dentist probably more than they'll take their children to see the optician. So sometimes sometimes parents are reluctant to bring their children in, whether they've had a bad experience themselves in the past or whether they just don't want their child to wear glasses. But unfortunately, sometimes the child does need to wear glasses, and it is about understanding what's best for that child, and it's for their development, and you don't want to kind of neglect their development and their future, because that's the most important thing. And the glasses nowadays are a lot better than what they used to be. So there's a wide range of frames and styles to choose from, and there's also other options as well. So sometimes the parents don't want their children in glasses. There are other options. There are also contact lenses, and there's not an age restriction on contact lenses either, which a lot of people don't know. I think a lot of parents think that their children the child has to be of a certain age before having contact lenses, but that's not the case. We can fit, as long as a child is mature enough and has that motivation to wear contact lenses, we'll be more than happy to, and an optometrist will be more than happy to fit them.
And I suppose that's probably an easier way. If a child has to wear glasses, they find maybe hard or difficult in the beginning if they have never worn glasses, and that might be a transition for them. And I know a lot of people wear that first, but then go back actually to having glasses because they just find it easier and only use the lenses for special occasions or something.
We always encourage a person to still have a pair of glasses as well as if there was a contact lens wearer, but it's nice to have that option. There are other options there, and in certain situations contact lenses are the better option, such as sports. The majority of children I've fitted with contact lenses is because there's a sports, they do other activities outside of school that they need them for, like sports, cricket, football, rugby, dance even. So I probably fitted a child as young as 9, but it's just about understanding, as long as that child is mature enough to understand what it entails, we have no problem fitting them with lenses. And it's about what's best for the child, because it can have a big impact on their self-esteem as well. So there's other elements that do play a part.
Well, I put my hands up to that 9-year-old that can actually put in contact lenses, because eyes is something that I've been sensitive to since my nursing days. Indeed, when I was working in theatre with eye surgeons, and it's one of the things that really kind of had a huge impact on me. And anything to do with my eyes or seeing other people's eyes, I kind of, a shiver goes down my back. So that's really great that the young people are able to do that at 9. I know cleanliness is a big key part of it, that they're able to wash their hands and able to keep them clean, and know the importance of that. So wonderful. We recommend eye tests for children, for adults. What about, we didn't mention much about the seniors in society that often maybe not able to communicate but have a problem. So they may be in hospital with strokes or other major illnesses and are suffering with poor eyesight but not able to communicate that, and hasn't been picked up. Do you find a lot of that with the seniors?
Yeah, so we do a service in which we can go out to people's homes as well. So if for any reason a patient can't come into practice for medical reasons, we're more than happy, if you get in contact with us, to come out to their house to perform an eye test. One patient in particular we had recently where she hadn't had an eye test for a number of years, and I went to see her at her home to do an eye test, and it was quite sad to see, because she was literally at a point where she was feeling her way around as she walked into the room, and from that moment, something wasn't quite right. She couldn't read the letters on the chart, but thankfully that patient got referred and got seen by a specialist. and had her cataracts removed. So as time goes on, patients are more at risk of certain eye conditions. With the aging eye, and that can have an impact on them falling and other problems with their health as well. So it is really important for elderly people to make sure that they have regular eye tests. Once a patient's over 70, we recommend an eye test every 12 months, sometimes even before that, depending on what the conditions of their eyes are as well. So it is very important for the elderly community to make sure they're coming in for an eye test. And even if they don't communicate, like I said before, there are ways and techniques that we use and are able to do an eye test without having that response from a patient.
Great. So we're just coming into a commercial break, and I think the messages we're getting across here, the importance from childhood right up to the elderly, is important to have your eye tested, and for better quality of life, for better in everything, to know your own health. Actually, it is really important, and there's lovely people like yourself out there that can do it. You can come to you, or you can go to their homes. Wonderful. We're going to come back after the commercial break and go into that maybe a little bit more in depth then of exactly what you do. Indeed, inshallah. Listeners, tune in to us after this commercial break. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, listeners. Welcome back to Parenting Hour. You're tuned into Unity FM 93.5 here in Birmingham and West Midlands, and 105.1 down south. My name is Kathleen, and we've had a very interesting first half of the show, really starting off the new year with proper vision, looking at the new year in a different light completely. If you have good vision, you can pick up things that you've never seen before, literally. And that's what we're talking about, actually, the importance of good vision. I have with me here Fatima, who is talked a lot about the abnormalities and working with children and adults, and the importance of picking up abnormalities or something wrong with the eyes very early, and that's really, we're going to go over some of those things again that you mentioned, as well as go in more in depth into what she actually does. But over the break, which was really interesting, we were talking about that client that you mentioned before the break, about that lady that had the operation, and you said that before the operation she was feeling around for things, she actually couldn't see things. So this was having a huge impact on her life.
Yeah, no, most definitely. She couldn't see me.
So that means she was inside all the time. Then she would probably never go out alone.
No, not at all. She didn't leave the house. Hence, that's why I went across to do her eye test at her home.
Wow.
She just about had some light perception. She had a number of eye problems, and it was quite a complex case. Unfortunately, I have a good connection at the hospital. Mr. Imran Masood, who's an eye specialist, and he works at City Hospital, and thankfully he saw her and agreed to do her surgery, which was very complex. And I've had an update from her family friend, who's basically said she's much better than she was. She can actually pick up a cup, whereas before she was just feeling around for like a glass of water when she needed to take her medication. And she used to like feel people's faces to kind of get a recognition of who they were. And she said no, she can actually, her vision's much better than what it was. Yes, it's not perfect, but her being quite elderly and the other complications, it's probably not going to be for her, but it most definitely has improved her quality of life, and that's thanks to the experts that we've got in the hospitals.
Which is, well, it's a team of experts. There's you going in, and it's the experts in the hospital, and it's the recovery plan to be able to help that woman, and probably many, many others as well that we don't know about, to actually have a quality of life, because now she can, as you say, pick up things. She can distinguish water from tea. She can maybe not burn herself, whereas before potentially a lot of other things to happen. She can see, she can get dressed, she can know what colour clothes she's wearing. Wow, what a difference to a life, really.
No, it definitely does make a difference. And if there are any listeners that have elderly relatives that can't come out, there are services available. You can call us, and we can arrange to come out to see them. We had a patient last year that came into practice, and we did his eye test. Unfortunately, this year he can't come out to us because his health has deteriorated, and that is something that we can do. We will come out to them and make sure that they're still having regular checkups, because vision does make being able to see things makes a huge difference into somebody's quality of life. I think most people have said that's one of the senses that they wouldn't want to lose. So it is important, and even instilling that in children as well. So teaching children self-care, like we teach them to go to the dentist on a regular basis, it's important to also have eye tests for the exact same reason, and instilling that in them at a young age is very important.
And have regular ones. Now, we mentioned that before the break, but it's worth mentioning it again, that what they're getting in some schools, and not all schools, is not the eye tests that you do with them in the surgery or in your clinics.
Yeah, so so in schools, it's some schools do screening programs. And it is sparse across the UK. It's not in every single area. It's definitely not in the area that I work in. But it's not a comprehensive sight test. A sight test involves much more than a screening. A screening will just identify if vision is poor in one eye or both eyes, and then that child is then referred onwards to see the optometrist or to the hospital eye service. So it is important on a regular basis to have your child's eyes actually tested, because it involves so much more than just checking their vision. We check the muscles, we check the 3D, we check colour vision, we check the health of the eyes, and that's an important factor. We make sure that the amount that they can see is sufficient for their age, because as the eyes develop, it progresses at a different rate, so we need to make sure that it is where it should be for that child's age.
Great. And I think parents, if you're listening into this, you should look this up and book in your child and make this New Year's resolution that you're going to look after your children's eyesight and have them tested, because we know what it's like when we don't do it with our teeth, and then we get painful teeth. Similar things can happen with the eyes. It can be too much down the line, and then takes a long time to get it back to normal again. Or
most learning is done through sight. So they say more than 80% of learning is done through sight. So if you just imagine that a child that actually can't see properly, how much that's going to actually affect their development. And sometimes behavioural issues are down to a child not being able to see properly. So it is really important to make sure you've covered all grounds, and a regular eye test is really important.
And there's so much demands now on eyes. With so we mentioned earlier on with the computers, with the phones, with the games, and children are playing so much of these games and watching these screens a lot, not like before, which we hope parents, you're getting out there and getting out in this fresh air. Yes, it might be a little bit cold over the winter time, but we still recommend that children be outside and get a lot of fresh air. But you probably things have changed over time as well. The amount of difficulties, or the way the children suffer, has that changed over the years? The symptoms, the signs,
yes, so children are a lot more. So children in the UK are a lot more myopic now than what they used to be 50 years ago, and so being short-sighted, yes, there's an element of family history and ethnicity, environment, but also carrying out a lot of near vision tasks can also has been linked with short-sightedness. So it is really important to make sure that the child has a range of different tasks to do. So playing or exercising outdoors regularly can really help protect the child's eyesight by reducing the chance that they'll become short-sighted. So it is really important. So that's what the research has suggested.
Wonderful. So actually what we're saying here, we often tell our parents this, because in the winter time parents think it's best to keep their children indoors and warm, and this is a way of keeping them healthy, rather than just putting an extra jumper on, a coat on, gloves, mittens, whatever, a scarf, and get outside and get out into the parks and have some good fresh air.
A lot of the near vision tasks are could be responsible for the short-sightedness. So the study suggests that 2 hours of outdoor time each day is ideal to help protect the vision of the children. So it is really important. So that's something that the studies have suggested. Screen time is understandably everyone's like kind of on a screen of some sort, but it is really important to make sure that there's a balance. After, I'd say, 20 minutes, get off the screen. So this is what we recommend everyone to do, adults as well, like even when you're on this computer at work, after 20 minutes, having regular breaks is very important. So look at something in the distance for, at 20 metres. So there's a 20-20-20 rule that we advise patients to go by. But in terms of children, on most screens you have night settings, so it's very important to switch on to night settings in the evenings, an hour before bed, not to use any screens or devices, because again the research has suggested it does alter the sleeping patterns, and again that will affect their development, that will affect their concentration when they're in school as well. So things like that are very important. The other important thing to know is UV protection. So yeah, we do want your children to be outside more, but it is important for them to wear sunglasses, and make sure that the sunglasses are of a good quality. So all sunglasses come with a CE marking or a British standard on them, and it's important that they are of a good quality, so you are protecting the child's eyes when they're outdoors.
Oh, wow, that's something we probably need you back in summer to talk about that, because people won't remember it now with very little sun. But that's often parents don't think about that, because we don't have a lot of sun. We're not living in a country that has a huge amount of sunlight, and they might think, oh, my I was fine when I was a child. I never had sunglasses, or how, and I managed fine. My children would be fine. But you're saying no, it's really important.
No, it is. So UV damage causes aging. Okay, causes aging in the skin. It also causes aging in the eyes. So it is about preserving eye health as much as possible. And we would think, oh, it's not very sunny, but there's still UV in the environment. So it is important to protect their eyes with a good pair of glasses, sunglasses. Sorry.
Good. Well, parents, maybe that's something else you'll have to start in this new year, is start putting a little collection together for some nice, good sunglasses for your children in the summertime, that they have these glasses, and you yourself also have the glasses, so you have the correct sunglasses to help you when you're out in the sunlight. Great. So we've covered quite a bit there about with children and coming to the eyesight, but I still think there's some myths around why parents don't take their children. I know they think it's happening in school, and you mentioned that already, that it's not in all schools, and it's not the same tests that you do, even if it is happening. So it's worth parents to find out about that, what's going on in their schools. But what other myths is out there that is preventing parents from bringing their children to have their eyes tested?
I think one of the key ones is the fact that sometimes parents or adults just think that actually glasses might make the vision worse, and that's not the case. So wearing glasses doesn't make your eyes worse or weaker or anything like that. In most cases, it will actually just help to alleviate some of the strain on the eyes, and to relax the eye muscles. So wearing the prescription that's prescribed does actually help the development and allows your child to see their full potential. The recent evidence has shown that actually undercorrecting some types of prescriptions can in fact accelerate deterioration. So you should always encourage your child to wear the glasses as instructed by the optometrist. And obviously, if you don't remember for any particular reason, I'm sure you can always call them up and be like, okay, does my child need to wear the glasses for watching TV? Is it just for reading? What are the actual needs for wearing the glasses? And if they've advised them to wear them full time, again, having the regular follow-ups just to make sure that they are developing at the correct rate. That's the most important thing. So no, glasses don't make your eyes worse. They're there to support and help.
Wonderful, good messages to get across, and there is lots of people like yourself that can do this in the community. I know you're based over past Washwood Heath area. Is it?
Yeah, so it's in Ward End. Yeah, so it's on the Washwood Heath Road. So it's 644 Washwood Heath Road. So in every area there's normally an optician, so it's very important to go to your local optometrist and have your eyes checked on a regular basis.
And for your surgery yourself, because I've built up a little rapport with you, and people now have probably heard you as well, they might want to phone you. What phone number do you have that we can give out today?
So our contact number is 0121 729 8233. And if you had any questions or queries, you can obviously phone, or you can email us at info@wardendeyecare.com. And we're on Instagram as well, so if you needed any advice, which many of our patients do, just message us on Instagram, and we can help in any way that we can, really.
So dear listeners, there's a lot of opportunity there to contact opticians, especially Fatima here in front of us. You can either contact her, as she just said, through her email address or her phone number, or if you forgot that or didn't have a pen, if you ring the studio 0121 087728892, and the studio manager here will pass on Fatima's details to you also. Maybe you want to have a little private conversation about something, and I'm sure she'll be only too happy to have that conversation with you. So if there's a chat that you want to have, they can put you in contact with her, and then you can have this private little consultation over the phone. So lots of opportunities there for you, and no excuses really, because we need to be looking after ourselves and our children, and making sure that our eyesight and our health is the best we can, and it is responsibility on us actually. As Muslims we have that responsibility. Our body has a right over us, and we need to be looking after our body and our health, and making sure we're doing that to the best we can. And we have services like yours. We should be able to take up those services to make sure we can look after our body, because on the day of judgment our body might say something against us if we don't do this. So subhanAllah, we have that duty there, which we often forget. It's not just duty over our children, which you have as parents, but also on our own bodies. So a lot there for parents to take in indeed. Parents sometimes don't see the value of looking after their children's eyes, or think their children are fine, or maybe playing up when they say that they can't see something or something. When they're asked to do something, they then say, oh no, I can't do that. And parents think they're playing up because of that, just trying to get out of doing some chores or something like that. Have you come across some children that if they hadn't come to you, their lives would have been different?
Yeah, I've probably got an extreme case, which... is out of the ordinary, because things are normally picked up before
early.
This point. Yeah. So a young boy came in to see me who was seen by the practitioners, and the GP advised them to come in for an eye test. Unfortunately, he sat in front of me weeks afterwards. I think it was like a month. And I did question, why have you left it that late if the GP advised you to come in for an eye test? And I think it was because they thought I was just playing up as children do, etc. But he was complaining of severe headaches, and it was a sad case because it was so it was quite a tough situation. So the child did have a brain tumour in the end. So after assessing his eyes, I referred him straight to the hospital. He then went up to Liverpool and had a tumour removed. And that's not all cases, but that is one of the cases that has stuck with me, because it's just not an eye test. There's more to it than that, and the things that we can pick up, and it can be quite life-changing. Obviously for that boy it was, and had he... they had already delayed it by a month before coming to see me, but so there are cases like that, unfortunately. But it was a fortunate situation because he got to see the right people who looked after him, and he's fine now. So that's the most important thing. And his family and his cousins and aunties, they used to come and see me. This is going back a couple of years, so you do have cases like that. And I'm not saying every headache is that. The point is, if you've got some medical advice to have something looked at, do act upon that. If you anything concerning, anything out of the ordinary, anything with changing personalities, things like that, it is really important to make sure you have your eyes tested for many reasons.
Well, there's the message is very plain, listeners. Wherever you are, if you're in the Birmingham, the West Midlands, or listening to this in Luton or Northampton or somewhere down south or online, there is plenty of people that can help you. Fatima has already mentioned her number, which I'll ask her to mention again. But if you don't have a pen and paper, you can ring the studio and they can give it to you. She can also have a conversation with you. The services are there. They're free for children, so we should be availing of it indeed, and helping our children to have better lives, a better quality of lives, as well as adults, able to get involved in sports. You mentioned earlier on as well, sports and other activities. If they didn't have contact lenses, maybe they wouldn't.
So a young girl who's seen me quite recently, she's a dancer, and she's only 11, and we've recently fitted her with contact lenses, and she's so happy and she's so chuffed with them, and the fact that there are some activities that children do and the glasses do get in the way, and from a safety aspect, it's better for them to be in contact lenses in certain situations as well. So it is important there's not an age restriction on contact lenses, as long as a child is mature enough to understand how to deal with them, which we go through. We teach you how to put them in, how to take them out, the do's and the don'ts, so we go through all that and make sure that the child is confident and competent to actually look after the lenses.
So parents, please do take your children along and have them checked out and be reassured that you're doing the right thing. And for yourselves as well, drop in to your local optician and have that test done and have that reassurance that everything is okay for you. And if you know of somebody then that's your parents or the grandparents or more senior, help them to come along and have their eye test. There is I think you have to have it done before you renew your driving license at some stage. Isn't that right?
That's correct. And with patients that can't come out to us, obviously we can always come out to them as well.
Good. So is there any tips that you'd like to give our listeners at the very end of the show and not today?
So the most important thing I'd say is make sure that you make sure yourselves and your children and your family and friends all have regular eye tests. I think that's the most important message. It's important to protect your eyes when you're outside, so making sure you've got a good pair of sunglasses on, make sure that they are quality sunglasses with CE markings or British standards on them. Wearing a sun hat as well even protects your eyes as well, so it's shielding, it's acting as a shade upon your eyes. Having a good healthy balanced diet is really important, so eating fish and green vegetables, drinking plenty of water is really important. Exercise as well, like the rest of your body, so if you're healthier your eyes are going to be healthy as well. So play and do sports outside as much as you can, so don't spend hours on a tablet or a screen of any sort, and make sure you've got regular breaks and varying the tasks. Make sure you turn off your digital devices at least an hour before bed, put them into night mode. Things like that are really important and will hopefully protect yours and your children's eyes. But like I said, most importantly is make sure you book a regular eye test if you've not had one. Feel free to get in contact.
Wonderful, thank you. And if you would like to just run us through your contact details again, just before we end.
So I'm based on Washwood Heath Road, so it's 644 Washwood Heath Road. That's Birmingham 82 HQ. Our contact number is 0121 729 8233. If you wanted to email us, you can reach us at info@wardendeyecare.com. Obviously we're on Instagram as well as Ward End Eyecare, so if you needed to direct messages on there, that's fine as well.
Wonderful. And listeners, I hope you're taking this information in and really absorbing it and thinking, this year 2020 is going to be the year that I'm going to look after my own health. I'm going to put myself a little bit first and make sure my health is good, including my eyesight, my physical health, my dental health, all the different healths that and the different areas we need to be looking after, making sure we're getting enough exercise in, eating well indeed, so that we will be here and able to enjoy each other's company and enjoy each other's good health and do things together for the next many years to come, inshallah. And if you have a New Year's resolution, now's the time to put that into place as well. So what is it I want to change and how am I going to change that? We will be talking more about how you can keep New Year's resolutions in the next few weeks indeed on the show. So do tune into us then. So we're going to give you more tips on this. But for this evening's show, the message of getting of eyes and looking after yourself was really important. And thank you so much, Fatima, for coming in and giving your time to us really to get that message across to our listeners. Jazakallah khair, really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me, Kathleen. It's really nice. Thank
Wonderful
you.
Indeed. And have a great new year, inshallah.
Thank you.
And 2020, inshallah, will be wonderful, bright opening for us all indeed, and that our vision will be better for everybody, inshallah. Inshallah, ameen, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan. Thank you again. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Have a great evening, inshallah, and a good week, and we'll see you next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
هنا مروا وكانوا قدوة للناس. هنا مروا وكانوا قادة أطهار. هنا مروا وكانوا قدوة للناس. هنا مروا وكانوا قادة أطهار. فيهم رقة الإحساس، فيهم جذوة الأحرار. فيهم رقة الإحساس، فيهم جذوة الأحرار. وفيهم جذوة الأحرار. هنا مروا خطاهم في الدجى نبراس. هنا مروا عطاهم طيب الآثار. وكانوا بين كل الناس هم السادات والأخيار. وكانوا بين كل الناس هم السادات والأخيار. هم السادات والأخيار. متى نصحو وقد دق الردى الأجراس؟ متى نصحو؟ متى يا أمة المليار؟ متى نصحو وقد دق الردى الأجراس؟ متى نصحو؟ متى يا أمة المليار تعود لصبحنا الأنفاس ونعلي راية المختار؟ تعود لصبحنا الأنفاس ونعلي راية المختار. ونعلي راية المختار.